The first thing I noticed walking into Morrison and Associates was my mother's Hermes scarf. Even from behind, I'd recognize that shade of coral silk anywhere. She'd worn it to every major family event since I was 12, like some kind of battle flag. My name is Naomi, and I hadn't seen that scarf, or the woman wearing it, in 8 years, 4 months, and 16 days. Not that I was counting. Ms. Romero? The receptionist's voice was gentle. Mr. Gross will see you now. I smoothed my black dress, purchased yesterday at Nordstrom Rack, and followed her down the hallway. My heels clicked against marble floors that probably cost more than my annual salary. The sound made heads turn, including my sister Juliet's, who was already seated in the conference room. Well, well, Juliet's smile was razor sharp. Look who finally decided to grace us with her presence. My mother turned slowly, like a queen addressing a peasant. Naomi, how unexpected. I was invited. I took a seat as far from them as possible. Grandfather's lawyer insisted. After missing the funeral? Mother's voice dripped acid. How convenient that you show up for the reading of the will. I bit back the truth. That I'd been there watching from my car, unable to face this exact moment any sooner than necessary. Instead, I said, I'm here now. Ladies, a man in his early 40s entered, carrying a leather portfolio. I'm Donovan Gross, Wayne's attorney. Shall we begin? Mother straightened, practically preening. Of course. We wouldn't want to waste any more time. Before we start, Donovan said, I should mention that Wayne made some significant changes to his will shortly before his passing. Changes? Juliet leaned forward. What changes? Perhaps we should read the document in its entirety. Just tell us, Mother snapped. We all know what the original will stated. The estate was to be divided between myself and Juliet, with some minor considerations for the staff. I watched Donovan's face carefully. Something in his expression made my stomach tighten. That was the previous version, yes. He opened the portfolio. However, approximately 6 weeks before his death, Wayne executed a new will. And 3 weeks after that, he added a codicil. Mother's coral scarf suddenly looked less like silk and more like a noose. What are you saying? The new will names a single heir. Donovan's eyes met mine. Naomi. The silence that followed was absolute. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears, could feel my heart hammering against my ribs. That's impossible. Juliet's voice shook. There must be some mistake. I assure you there isn't. Donovan pulled out a document. Everything is in order, properly witnessed and notarized. Everything? Mother's whisper was deadly quiet. Define everything. The entire estate, the main house, the vacation properties, all liquid assets and investments. Donovan glanced at his papers. And there's still the matter of the codicil. This is absurd. Mother slammed her hand on the table. She abandoned this family. She hasn't spoken to us in years. Meanwhile, we were the ones caring for father, watching over him, making sure of what, Mother? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. She froze, her face draining of color. Making sure he was comfortable, of course. Mrs. Porter, Donovan interrupted, I understand this is shocking, but... Shocking? Juliet laughed, high and brittle. It's fraud. It has to be. Grandfather would never... But he did. I found my voice growing stronger. And somehow, you both know exactly why. Mother's eyes narrowed to slits. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I met her gaze steadily. But you seem awfully worried about a simple change of inheritance. Mr. Gross. Mother stood, her composure cracking. Before you read another word of that will or this supposed codicil, I suggest you consider the legal ramifications. Our family attorneys will be contesting every... The codicil, Donovan continued calmly, contains specific provisions regarding contests to the will. Any challenge automatically triggers a full investigation into the circumstances of Wayne's final months. He was quite insistent about that clause. Mother sank back into her chair. Juliet's face had gone from red to white. "Now then," Donovan said, pulling out another document, "about this codicil." I watched my mother's hands grip her coral scarf, twisting it like she wished it was wrapped around my neck. In that moment, I realized grandfather had left me more than just his fortune. He'd left me the one thing I never thought I'd have: the upper hand. The codicil, Donovan read, stipulates that in addition to the full estate, valued at approximately $12 million, Naomi is to receive immediate and sole access to all safety deposit boxes, personal documents, and private collections maintained by Wayne Romero. My sister made a sound like she was choking. 12 million. The number hit me like a physical blow. Furthermore, Donovan continued, Wayne explicitly states that his daughter Francesca and granddaughter Juliet are to receive, and I quote, exactly what they deserve, nothing. He was senile, Mother spat. Clearly manipulated. When was this codicil dated? 3 weeks before his death. The same day he asked me to install new security cameras in his home office. Donovan's words hung in the air like smoke. A memory flashed through my mind. My last visit with grandfather 6 months ago. I'd stopped by his house on impulse, knowing Mother and Juliet would be at their weekly spa appointment. They think I'm going soft in the head, he'd told me, pouring his signature bourbon. But I see everything, little owl. Always have. Little owl. He hadn't called me that since I was 10. Your mother came by yesterday, he'd continued, talking about power of attorney, medical directives, as if I haven't managed my own affairs for 70 years. Grandfather? You were right to leave, you know. He'd fixed me with those sharp blue eyes. Sometimes loyalty to family means standing up to them, not standing with them. Now, watching Mother's perfectly manicured nails dig into the conference table's leather inlay, I wondered if he'd known even then what he was planning. There's more, Donovan said. Wayne left a letter, to be read only in these circumstances. Mother stood so quickly her chair rolled backward. I forbid. You forbid nothing anymore. My voice was ice. Read it, Donovan. He pulled out an envelope, breaking the seal. My dearest Naomi, he began. If you're hearing this, then they've finally shown their true colors. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner, how they treated you, what they did to break your spirit. But you proved stronger than any of us knew. You built a life without our money, our connections, our name. You became your own person despite them, not because of them. Tears pricked at my eyes. Juliet made a disgusted sound. The fortune they've been circling like vultures, you earned it, not by staying and enduring their abuse, but by having the courage to leave, to choose yourself. The money means nothing. It's what you'll do with it that matters. And I trust you'll do better than they ever would. This is ridiculous, Juliet snapped. He was clearly... Shut up. I surprised myself with the force of those words. For once in your life, just shut up. Donovan continued reading. They'll try to fight this, of course. Let them. Everything's documented. The security footage, the medical records, the missing prescriptions. Elena knows where to find it all. Remember what I taught you, little owl. The truth always surfaces, usually at high tide. Mother's face went from red to grey. Eleanor, that interfering housekeeper. And finally, Donovan read, remember this. Revenge is a meal best served cold, but don't let it freeze your heart. You're better than that. Better than them. Love, grandfather. The silence that followed felt like glass about to shatter. You. Mother's voice trembled. You turned him against us. I stood slowly, gathering my purse. No, Mother. You did that all on your own. You think this is over? She grabbed my arm as I passed. You have no idea what your grandfather was hiding, what this family is capable of. I looked down at her hand, then into her eyes. Remove your fingers, or I'll remove them for you. She jerked back as if burned. Mr. Gross, I said, I assume you'll handle the transfer of assets? Of course. He handed me a business card. We should meet tomorrow to discuss details. Perfect. I turned to my mother and sister. You have 24 hours to remove your personal belongings from any of grandfather's properties. After that, anything left behind will be donated or destroyed. You can't, Juliet started. I can. I will. And I'm going to enjoy every second of it. I walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and Mother, that coral Hermes you're wearing? Grandfather bought that, which means it's mine now. I'll take it. Her hands flew to her throat. This is my signature piece. You wouldn't dare. I held out my hand, waiting. With shaking fingers, she unwound the scarf and thrust it at me. Thank you. I smiled, channeling her own false sweetness. It'll make excellent kindling. The last thing I heard as I walked away was Juliet's enraged shriek and the sound of something expensive shattering against a wall. Grandfather was right. The truth does surface at high tide. And the tide was just beginning to rise. Grandfather's study smelled exactly the same. Leather, pipe tobacco, and old books. I ran my fingers along his desk, remembering how he'd sit here, teaching me chess while Mother was busy planning charity galas downstairs. Can I help you find something specific? Elena stood in the doorway, her silver hair pulled back in its usual neat bun. She'd been Grandfather's housekeeper for 20 years, and the only other person who had full access to this room. He mentioned something about documentation in his letter, I said. Security footage, medical records. Eleanor closed the door behind her. Your grandfather was very thorough in his final months. She walked to the bookshelf, pulling out a leather-bound copy of The Art of War. The shelf clicked, revealing a hidden panel. Of course he had a secret compartment, I laughed. Classic grandfather. Inside you'll find his private journals, going back 3 years. Elena's expression turned serious. And these. She handed me a USB drive and a manila envelope. The drive contains security footage. The envelope, well, you should see for yourself. I opened it, pulling out a stack of papers. Prescription records, medication schedules, and wait. I held up a receipt. This shows Juliet signing for changes to his heart medication, but she told everyone she never handled his medical care. Keep reading. Eleanor's voice was grim. The next document was a lab report. His blood work showed unusual levels of, I don't understand these terms. The doctor was concerned his medication was being tampered with, not enough to kill him, but enough to make him confused, weak. Eleanor's hands twisted her apron. Your grandfather suspected, but couldn't prove it. That's when he installed the cameras. My hands shook as I picked up one of the journals. The most recent one, dated just 2 months ago. His handwriting was shakier than I remembered. Francesca came again today with her usual demands. When I refused to change the will, she said I'd regret being difficult. Hours later, I felt dizzy, disoriented. Elena found me in the garden. The timing seems concerning. My God, I sank into his chair. They were poisoning him? Not exactly. Elena perched on the edge of the desk. They were adjusting his medications, making him appear mentally unstable. Your mother was building a case to have him declared incompetent. I flipped through more pages. But why didn't he report them? He was gathering evidence, building an ironclad case. Elena smiled sadly. He knew they'd contest the will, wanted to make sure you'd have everything you needed to fight back. A knock at the door made us both jump. Donovan stood there, looking apologetic. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. Juliet's trying to remove paintings from the East Wing gallery. Like hell she is. I grabbed my phone, pulling up the security app Donovan had installed for me that morning. Sure enough, there was my sister, directing two men with a moving dolly toward a Monet. I pressed the intercom button. Step away from the artwork, Juliet. She spun around, searching for cameras. You can't stop me. These were promised to me. The police are already on their way. Your choice if you want to add theft charges to everything else. The movers looked uncertainly at each other. One set down his end of the dolly. This isn't over, Juliet screamed at the ceiling. You think you're so clever? Wait until the press hears about grandfather's dirty little secrets. I froze. Elena's hand gripped my shoulder. What secrets? I asked through the intercom. Ask Elena about the money transfers in '85. Ask her about the real reason grandmother died. Juliet's laugh was hysterical. You want to play hardball? Game on, sister. The movers practically ran from the gallery. Juliet followed, but not before giving the nearest camera the finger. I turned to Eleanor, who had gone pale. What was she talking about? Your grandfather. She hesitated. He wasn't always the man you knew. The early years of his fortune, there were some questionable decisions. How questionable? Questionable enough that if it came to light, it could damage more than just his reputation. She met my eyes. It could invalidate everything. His businesses, his properties, his will, your inheritance. Donovan cleared his throat. I should mention, I found something concerning in the estate paperwork. Large payments to an offshore account starting the year your grandmother died. My head spun. So Juliet's right? There are secrets that could ruin everything? There are always secrets in wealthy families, Elena said quietly. The question is, how far are you willing to dig to protect what's yours? I picked up grandfather's journal again, feeling its weight. The weight of truth, of lies, of decades of family history I never knew. Keep the police on standby, I told Donovan. But first, I need you to find me everything you can about my grandmother's death. And Eleanor? I met her worried gaze. We need to talk about 1985. Sometimes, I thought, watching the sunset through grandfather's window, the most dangerous secrets are the ones we inherit. Your grandmother didn't die of heart failure, Elena said, setting down a dusty photo album. That was the official story, but a crash from downstairs interrupted her. We rushed to the security feed to see Juliet's fiancé, Malcolm, stumbling through the kitchen. I'll handle this, I said, grabbing my phone. Security, we have an intruder in the main house. I found Malcolm rifling through grandfather's wine cellar, stuffing bottles into a gym bag. Really? I leaned against the doorframe. Grand Theft Cabernet? He straightened, flashing that car salesman smile. Naomi? I was just securing some items Juliet said belonged to her. At midnight? Through a broken window? Look. He set down the bag. This whole situation is unfortunate, but we both know Juliet's been promised these wines for years. Funny, I don't see that in the will. Maybe we could work something out. He stepped closer. I've always thought you and I had a connection. I laughed. Wow, are you actually trying to seduce your way into my inheritance? I'm trying to be reasonable. His smile slipped. Unlike some people, I know things that could hurt everyone involved. Like what happened in 1985? His expression flickered. Among other things. Tell me what you know. Information has a price. So does breaking and entering. I held up my phone. The police are 3 minutes out. Start talking. He glanced at the stairs, then back at me. Your grandmother found documents, evidence of where the initial fortune came from. She threatened to expose everything unless your grandfather signed it all over to her. And a week later, she was dead. Heart failure officially, but Juliet found letters. Suggestions of something more deliberate. The police siren wailed in the distance. That's my cue. Malcolm grabbed his coat. Think about what I said. A small settlement could keep certain stories buried. Or I could have you arrested right now. You could, he grinned. But then you'd never hear about the safety deposit box your grandmother left for your mother. The one with all the proof. He slipped past me and disappeared up the stairs, just as red and blue lights flooded the driveway. I called off the police, my mind racing. Back in the study, Elena was waiting with the photo album. Is it true? I asked. About grandmother? Partially. She opened the album. Your grandmother did find documents, but she wasn't blackmailing your grandfather. She was protecting him. From what? From your mother. Elena pointed to a photo. Mother at 18, standing next to a stern-looking man I didn't recognize. This was your mother's biological father, a business partner of your grandfather's. When he died mysteriously, your grandfather inherited his share of their company. Mysteriously? Car accident. Brake lines cut. Elena's voice was flat. Your mother knew who was responsible. She used that knowledge to control your grandfather for years. That's insane. I sank into a chair. You're saying my mother has been blackmailing your grandfather since before you were born? Yes. Elena pulled out an envelope from behind the album's cover. Your grandmother discovered the truth, documented everything. She died before she could expose it. Heart failure? Your mother was very clever with medications, always has been. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. Inside were newspaper clippings about the accident, handwritten notes, and a key. The safety deposit box Malcolm mentioned? Elena nodded. Your grandmother left a duplicate set of evidence there. Your mother's been trying to access it for decades. But why didn't grandfather go to the police? Because of you. Elena touched my hand. He knew if the truth came out, your mother would go to prison. He couldn't bear to do that to you and Juliet. But Juliet knows? Your mother told her everything last year when they started planning to have your grandfather declared incompetent. They never expected him to discover their scheme. A notification pinged on my phone. Security footage of Malcolm meeting Juliet in the garden. She was screaming, gesturing wildly. He looked scared. What's our next move? Elena asked. I watched my sister's fury play out on the screen, remembering years of her cruelty, her smugness, her perfect alliance with Mother. First, I said, we find that safety deposit box. Then we show my sister exactly what it feels like to lose everything. Your grandfather wanted to protect you from all this. No. I clutched the key. He wanted to give me the power to protect myself. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. On the security feed, Juliet stormed off, leaving Malcolm alone in the dark. He looked directly at the camera and mouthed 2 words, "Call me." You're not seriously considering meeting him? Stella, my best friend since college, paced my hotel room. After the break-in, I'd decided staying at the mansion wasn't wise. Malcolm's scared, I said, watching the security app. Look at him, still lurking around the property. He's a snake. Stella flopped onto my bed, a very attractive snake, but still. My phone buzzed. Another text from Malcolm. I know where the box is. Meet me? What if it's a trap? Stella asked. That's why we're meeting at the Capitol Grill. Public place, lots of witnesses. I grabbed my purse. And that's why you're coming with me. Malcolm was already at the restaurant when we arrived, nursing what looked like his second whiskey. Ladies, he stood, pulling out chairs. I didn't realize this would be a group meeting. Surprise. I sat down. Start talking. First, a gesture of good faith. He slid a folder across the table. Bank statements showing your mother's massive debt. She's been living on credit, convinced the inheritance would cover it. I scanned the documents. 7 figures in debt? How? Gambling mostly. High-stakes poker games at private clubs. He sipped his whiskey. Juliet doesn't know. Your mother's been forging her signature as a guarantor. Stella whistled softly. That's federal fraud. Among other things. Malcolm leaned forward. Look, I love Juliet, but I'm not going down with this ship. Your mother's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. Like cutting brake lines? I watched his face carefully. He paled. Who told you? The safety deposit box. Where is it? First Bank downtown, box 2247, but you'll need more than just the key. There's a password, something about your grandmother's favorite opera, I finished. Madame a Butterfly. How did you... She used to sing it to me. I stood up. Thanks for the information, Malcolm. Good luck with whatever's left of your engagement. Wait. He grabbed my wrist. There's more. Juliet. She's pregnant. The world tilted slightly. Stella's hand found my shoulder. Is it yours? I asked. Does it matter? She's using it to pressure me into staying, helping them fight you. His eyes were pleading. I can't raise a child with someone capable of what she's done. And what exactly has she done? Ask her about grandfather's heart medication. Ask her about the night he almost fell down the stairs. He drained his glass. Just be careful, okay? They're planning something big. Back in the car, Stella turned to me. Well, that was intense. Drive to the bank, I said, pulling up my phone. I need to make some calls first. 20 minutes later, I had what I needed. Mother's been withdrawing large amounts of cash, and look at this. She just booked a one-way ticket to the Cayman Islands. Running away? Not if I can help it. I dialed Donovan. I need you to freeze all their accounts. Every single one. Already done, he replied. But there's something else. I just received an anonymous envelope. Photos of your mother meeting with unsavory characters. Loan sharks? Worse. People who solve problems permanently. My blood ran cold. Send them to me. The photos loaded. Mother in a dark parking garage, handing an envelope to a man whose face screamed professional criminal. The timestamp, I said. This was 2 hours ago. Naomi. Stella's voice shook. Look at the background of the third photo. I zoomed in. Behind Mother was a familiar car, Malcolm's Mercedes. That son of a... My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check your email. Proof your grandfather was murdered. Release it by midnight or you're next. Jay. Turn around, I told Stella. The safety deposit box can wait. We need to get to the mansion now. Why? Because my sister just threatened to kill me. I pulled up the security feeds. And Malcolm's car just pulled into the garage. Shouldn't we call the police? Not yet. I watched Juliet enter through the kitchen. First, I'm going to give them exactly what they want. Which is? A chance to incriminate themselves. I texted Elena, start the cameras, all of them. It's time. You're seriously going to confront them alone? No. I smiled grimly. I'm going to let them confront me while broadcasting everything live to their social media accounts. That's evil, Stella grinned. I love it. As we drove back, another text came through, this time from Mother. Last chance to negotiate. Don't make me do something we'll both regret. I typed back 4 words. Come and get me. The mansion loomed ahead, dark except for lights in Grandfather's study, right where I wanted them to be. Ready? Stella asked. I touched the coral scarf around my neck. Mother's precious Hermes, now a battle flag of my own. Time to end this. The study door was open when I reached it, voices drifting out into the hallway. Stella had positioned herself in the security room downstairs, monitoring the feeds and making sure everything was being recorded. She'll be here soon, Mother was saying. Malcolm, you know what to do. I'm not sure about this. Malcolm's voice wavered. Threatening is one thing, but nothing, Juliet snapped. You're in this too deep to back out now. I stepped into the doorway. Well, this is cozy. They spun around. Mother sat in grandfather's chair, Juliet perched on the desk, and Malcolm stood by the window, looking trapped. Finally! Mother's smile was glacial. We were just discussing terms. Terms? I moved into the room. For what? A peaceful resolution. She gestured to an envelope on the desk. Sign these papers transferring everything back to me, and certain unfortunate evidence stays buried. You mean the evidence of you killing grandmother? Juliet's champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering. How? Or maybe you mean the proof that you've been slowly poisoning grandfather? I pulled out my phone. The security footage is particularly interesting, especially the part where you switch his medications. Lies, Mother hissed. We were caring for him. By making him appear mentally unstable? I played a clip. Juliet in grandfather's room at night, replacing pills in his organizer. The lab results were quite clear about what you were giving him. Malcolm edged toward the door. Mother's hand shot out, gripping his arm. Going somewhere? She asked sweetly. After everything we've shared? I didn't sign up for murder, he said. No? I pulled up another video. So that wasn't you meeting with a hitman 2 hours ago? Mother's face went slack. How? Grandfather installed cameras everywhere after he caught Juliet tampering with his medication. He saw everything, recorded everything. Delete it, Juliet demanded, or I'll tell everyone about 1985, about how grandfather really made his money. You mean how he inherited his partner's share after Mother had the brake lines cut? I watched their faces crumple. Yeah, I know about that too. You have no proof, Mother whispered. Actually, I do. Grandmother left quite a paper trail. I touched the coral scarf. She documented everything before you killed her. I did not. The safety deposit box, Mother. I know about that too. She stood so quickly the chair toppled. You're bluffing. Am I? I held up my phone. Say hi to your followers, by the way. We're live on your Instagram. Juliet lunged for her phone, pulling up her profile. Her scream could probably be heard in the next county. You can't do this, she shrieked. I just did. I smiled. Your social media passwords were embarrassingly easy to hack. Mother's birthday? Really? Malcolm broke free of Mother's grip. I'm out. This is insane. Touch that door and I'll destroy you, Mother snarled. Like you destroyed grandmother? I asked. Or tried to destroy grandfather? Everything I did was for this family. No, I stepped closer. Everything you did was for yourself, and now everyone knows. She moved with surprising speed, her hand closing around a heavy crystal paperweight. I won't let you ruin us. Mother, Juliet's voice shook. The stream. They can see. Let them see. Mother's laugh was unhinged. Let them all see what happens when ungrateful children try to steal what's rightfully mine. She hurled the paperweight. I ducked, hearing it crash into the bookshelf behind me. Books tumbled, including the false one hiding grandfather's secret panel. The journals, Juliet gasped. Mother dove for them, but I was faster. I grabbed the most recent one, flipping to the last entry. Dear Francesca, I read aloud, my voice carrying clearly for the stream. If you're reading this, you've finally shown your true colors. I knew about the medications, about your mother, about everything. Stop, Mother whispered. I'm not the doddering old fool you thought. Every crime, every scheme, every betrayal, it's all documented, in multiple copies, with multiple witnesses. Malcolm slipped out the door. Juliet sank to the floor, sobbing. The money you wanted so desperately? I continued reading. It was never real. I donated most of it years ago. What's left is just enough for Naomi to start fresh, to undo the damage you've done. Mother's face had gone from white to gray. Outside, police sirens wailed. That's your cue to run, I said softly. Though I don't think you'll get far. She straightened her spine, ever the proper socialite. This isn't over. Check your phone's notifications, Mother. The clips are already going viral. As if on cue, both their phones started buzzing frantically with messages and calls. Goodbye, Mother. I ended the stream. Say hi to Grandmother for me. The police burst in just as she lunged for my throat. 3 weeks later, I sat across from Mother in the prison's visiting area. She looked smaller without her designer clothes and perfect makeup, the orange jumpsuit washing out her complexion. Was it worth it? She asked, her voice hoarse. Destroying your own family? You destroyed this family long before I did. I placed a manila envelope on the table. These are the plea deal terms. Confess to grandmother's murder and grandfather's abuse, and they'll reduce the sentence. And if I don't? Then the DA will push for maximum penalties, for everything. She opened the envelope with shaking hands. Juliet made her own deal yesterday, turned state's evidence against you and Malcolm. I leaned back. She lost the baby, by the way, if there ever was one. Mother's mask cracked slightly. My own daughter. Karma's funny that way. And what about you? Her eyes narrowed. Living in that big house all alone with all that blood money? Actually, I'm selling it, using the proceeds to start a foundation for victims of family abuse. I smiled. Grandfather would have liked that. You self-righteous little... Time's up, the guard called. I stood, gathering my purse. One more thing. Elena found grandmother's journals, the real ones, not the copies you destroyed. She wrote about me, you know, about how much she loved me, how she wanted to protect me from you. She was weak, Mother spat, just like you. No, Mother, she was strong enough to stand up to you, just like I did. I touched the coral scarf around my neck. Goodbye, Mother. Enjoy prison. Outside, Stella waited in the car. How'd it go? About as expected. I checked my phone. Donovan's finalizing the house sale. The foundation paperwork should be ready next week. And Juliet? Rehab, then witness protection. Malcolm's still missing. You think he'll try something? With what? I pulled up the banking app. His accounts are frozen. His reputation's destroyed, and his face is all over the news. He's finished. My phone buzzed with a text from Elena. Found something else in the study. Come quick. 20 minutes later, we stood in grandfather's study. Elena handed me a small leather-bound book. It was behind the baseboards, she said. Must have fallen there years ago. I opened it carefully. The handwriting was grandmother's. My dearest Naomi, I read aloud. If you're reading this, I'm long gone. Your mother will have told you it was heart failure. She's lying. I'm writing this because I know what's coming. I've gathered too much evidence against her, and she knows it. Stella squeezed my shoulder as I continued reading. But don't let hatred consume you, little one. I've lived with that poison long enough. Instead, use the truth to set yourself free. Your grandfather will protect you until you're strong enough to protect yourself. And when that day comes, remember, our greatest revenge is living well. There's more, Elena said softly. The next page contained account numbers, passwords, and a series of photographs. My hands trembled as I recognized them, proof of every crime Mother had ever committed, dating back to 1985. She knew, I whispered. She knew, and she made sure the truth would come out. What are you going to do with it? Stella asked. I looked around the study, remembering chess games with grandfather, secret cookies with grandmother, moments of love stolen between Mother's cruelties. I'm going to honor their memory, I said. But first, I pulled out my phone, dialing Donovan. The foundation, I said when he answered. Let's call it the Butterfly Fund. Your grandmother's favorite opera, he replied. Perfect. And one more thing. Those offshore accounts Mother kept secret, transfer everything to the foundation, every last penny. Already done. He paused. The press is asking for interviews. Tell them I'll talk. It's time people knew the whole story. I hung up, turning to Elena. Will you help run the foundation? You know better than anyone what these families need. She hugged me tight. Your grandmother would be so proud. And your mother? Stella asked. What if she fights the plea deal? I touched the coral scarf one last time, then dropped it in the wastepaper basket. Let her fight. The truth is already out there, streaming across millions of screens. She can't hide anymore. I struck a match. None of us have to hide anymore. The scarf caught quickly, orange silk turning to ash. Like a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis, I felt lighter, freer. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just living well, it's helping others live better too. The autumn wind scattered leaves across grandfather's grave as I placed fresh flowers beside the headstone. The cemetery was quiet except for distant traffic and the rustle of trees. You should have seen it, I said, settling onto the marble bench. The Butterfly Fund's first shelter opened today. Elena's running it like a drill sergeant, in a good way. My phone buzzed. Another news alert about Mother's case. She'd finally accepted the plea deal after Juliet's testimony destroyed her last defense. Your mother made her choice, a familiar voice said behind me, just like you made yours. I turned to find Donovan holding 2 coffee cups. He handed me one. How did you know I'd be here? Where else would you be on the anniversary of his death? He sat beside me. The DA called. Malcolm surfaced in Mexico. Let me guess. Trying to access the frozen accounts? Got caught using a fake passport. They're extraditing him next week. He sipped his coffee. Juliet's doing well in her program, by the way. 6 months sober. Good for her. I meant it. The therapist thinks she might be ready for supervised visits soon. Are you ready for that? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Elena's number. Turn on the news, she said when I answered. Now. I pulled up the local news app. The headline made my heart stop. Missing evidence in Porter case found. New suspects named. What's happening? I asked Elena. Police raided your mother's old storage unit. Found a lockbox with recordings. Dozens of them. Her voice shook. It's not just your grandmother's murder. There are other victims. Other families. The news anchor was interviewing a detective. These tapes suggest a pattern of criminal activity spanning 3 decades. Multiple suspects, including prominent business figures, are being questioned. Your mother's singing like a canary, Donovan said, reading messages on his phone. Naming names, dates, everything. Says she won't go down alone. I stared at grandfather's headstone, remembering his words. The truth always surfaces at high tide. There's something else, Elena said. One of the tapes. It's your grandmother. The night she died. She recorded everything. My hands trembled. Play it. Through the phone, I heard static, then my grandmother's voice. Francesca, please. Think about what you're doing. Think about Naomi. Always about Naomi, Mother's voice snarled. Your precious golden child. She deserves better than this life. Better than what you've become. What I've become. I became exactly what this family needed. Someone strong enough to do whatever it takes. You mean like killing your father? Like stealing his company? He was weak, just like you. I have proof of everything, and Naomi will find it when she's ready. Naomi will never... The recording cut off in a crash of breaking glass. That's all there is, Elena said softly. The police are calling it a confession. I ended the call, my coffee growing cold beside me. You okay? Donovan asked. She knew. I touched the headstone. Grandmother knew she was going to die that night, but she made sure the truth would come out. Just like your grandfather did. Just like I did. I stood up, brushing leaves from my dress. The Foundation's legal team should review those tapes. There might be families we can help. Already on it, Donovan smiled. Want to know what else was in that storage unit? Your grandmother's original sheet music for Madama Butterfly, with notes in the margins about you. Tears pricked my eyes. What kind of notes? Mostly about how much she loved hearing you sing along, how she knew you'd grow up to be stronger than all of them. My phone buzzed again. Stella reminding me about the foundation's opening ceremony. Ready to go? Donovan asked. I looked at the headstone one last time. The morning sun caught the engraving. Truth is the daughter of time. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. As we walked to the car, I heard it, faint but clear on the autumn wind. The opening notes of Madama Butterfly, as if grandmother herself was singing. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. But the truth? The truth burns hot and bright, melting away shadows, secrets, and lies, until all that's left is light. And in that light, we find not just justice, but peace. I got in the car, leaving the ghosts of my past behind. Ahead lay the foundation, the families we could help, the truth we could tell. Grandmother was right. Living well isn't just the best revenge. It's the only revenge worth having. Let's go, I told Donovan. We have work to do. The autumn wind followed us out of the cemetery, carrying with it the last notes of a butterfly's song.